This is the Baseline Facetime Podcast, and we've got another great episode coming at you right now. Let's go. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Baseline Facetime Podcast. We've got a really exciting episode today. As you can see, Manny is not with me. We gave him a week's vacation, well-deserved after 11 solid episodes. But if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see I have a guest with me today, one of my good friends all the way from Virginia, David Frett, joining
What's up,
the
guys?
show. Dave, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
It's going, bro. It's going. You been tuning into the bubble?
I have been just working, and then when I get home, just watching basketball.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, so we're going to get into that. But for those of you that do not know Dave, a little bit about him. So again, he's joining the show from Virginia. And Dave has a, let's just say, unique basketball history, if we can call it that. So I asked Dave to give me some fast facts about his playing career, and he did not disappoint. So in his 15 to 18-year-old rec league, you told me that you were the defensive player of the year. And then you told me that was self-proclaimed. So go into detail.
I was a football player all throughout high school, and so I was actually a linebacker in football, and so I've never played basketball before in my entire life, and so I just go and I played a year of rec basketball with some of my friends just to have fun and stuff, and turns out you're not allowed to push people or tackle people, and so I was kind of a defensive anchor on those teams. So if anybody ever needed a foul, I'd be there for him. But
someone's got to do it, right?
yeah.
How was your team? How did they look? How'd you do?
We would always do good in the regular season, and then once we got into the playoffs, we all just like a lot of the times I had stuff to do because the games were normally on Sundays, but then the playoffs was on Saturdays, and I had to work, so I wouldn't be able to go to the playoff games. Yeah. So.
Oh wow! So you guys were kind of like the Raptors without Kawhi, like before him.
Yeah.
Kind of struggling in the playoffs a little bit. You told me you averaged roughly 0.6 points per game.
I was never a scorer. I can't I'm actually a better shooter than I can making layups.
On the interior.
I cannot make a layup for my life, especially when I'm driving. And so I was always more of a passer.
There you go.
So,
Steve, now I've played with you a few times. You can pass a little bit.
Yeah.
You can pass a little bit. So
yeah, I think
you almost got into a few fights as well.
Yeah.
It's rough in the rec league.
Well, I didn't really even care. It was one of the games, it was my last game playing, and so I was playing on a sprained ankle, so I was hurt, and I tried to shoot my last shot, and the other team was winning big, and so I just tried to shoot, just why not? And some kid come up and blocked me, and so I was not happy, and so everybody was oh, but I was not having it, so it almost went down in the parking lot.
Oh my, that's fun though. That's I'm glad you did that. Got some basketball experience under your belt, and so you played on a sprained ankle. How did you? You played on it, and why, and how did you get it? That kind of stuff.
So I was at practice one day. It was on a Wednesday night. We would always practice at the middle school, and so we didn't have a lot of people there. It was we had 3 or 4 guys on our team, because nobody really ever showed up to practice, and so there was a group of middle schoolers 11, 12-year-olds playing, and so we were hey, do you guys want to scrimmage? And they said yes. And so one of the plays, there's a guy in the corner, and he goes up to shoot, and I go up to block his shot. I come down, and I land straight on my my foot, my right foot, and it just completely rolls, and it was one of the worst feelings that I've ever had. So I was in a boot for a few weeks after that.
Hey, going out to contest a 3, that's defensive player of the year kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Someone's got to be the hard worker.
In a scrimmage against the middle schoolers.
That's right. Hey, always getting the work in.
Yeah.
So, and one thing I know about you and so you know this is a relatively new podcast. You are joining us for episode 12, and I know you've caught a lot, if not all, of our
I have
episodes
watched every
before.
single episode so far.
We appreciate that. So
Yep.
what's give us some feedback. What stood out to you? What's been good? What do you want to look for more? Like, do you have a favorite moment or favorite episode so far?
My favorite episode is when you guys had the soccer player from Canada. I forget what
Yeah,
her name was, but that was really cool.
Carla.
Carla, you actually got like a professional sports player on the podcast.
Yeah, man, we're making it big.
Yep.
We're making it big. So yeah, that was a good episode. That's for sure.
I also
Enjoyed
liked
having her on.
I liked when you guys do the like start, bench, and cut. 'Cause
Uh
like
huh.
there's always hard decisions to make, especially like if you're a coach. Like if you're a coach and you have like three like amazing people, but you have to make that decision. And I mean, like you're gonna get like hate either way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That was tough. That was tough to do. I
hmm
can definitely attest to that. A little something else about Dave. Dave is a big Philadelphia sports fan.
Yep, I got all my. These are my brother's jerseys. They're all Philly jerseys.
So you got a bunch of Philly jerseys
Yep.
behind you. You're an Eagles fan. You're a Sixers fan. Flyers
hmm
fan. You name it. And so that means, of course, we're going to get into some Sixers talk. But starting off with some Sixers talk, that's a little disappointing. I don't know if you caught our first bubble game against the Indiana Pacers. A young lad by the name of T.J. Warren, dropped 53 points to beat
Wow,
us,
that
to
is
beat the
insane.
Sixers. What do you think about that?
I mean, the way how TJ Warren was on the Suns last year and they traded TJ Warren just over to the Pacers for cash, like
Yeah.
it was not a lot. And so him just coming out because he's been averaging 19 points per game in the regular season. So that's not bad, but it's not like just like insane. It's like an average
Mm-hmm.
player. But coming out and just scoring 53 points, I mean, that dude must have been well rested and fed well in that bubble.
Yeah, that's right. That's for sure. Yeah, so TJ Warren drops 53 on the Sixers. That was the most frustrating game to watch. And it felt, even though it was very frustrating for me to watch that as a Sixers fan, it felt very comforting at the same time because I have not been frustrated watching a sporting event in like 4 months. And
Yeah.
so it felt like home, let's just say that. And it did not stop there for TJ Warren. So TJ Warren is definitely by far the bubble MVP of week one. So in 3 games, he has dropped 53, 34, and then 32. He cooled off a little today, so we're recording this on August 6th. They just had a game with the Suns, who took them down, and he only had 16 in that one, but he's shooting like well over 50, 60%, I think, at least through those 3 games. And right now they're holding on to that 5 seed with the Pacers, so we'll see what happens there.
hmm
Now transitioning over to the Sixers. So I want to get your opinion on this as a well-established Philadelphia sports fan. I know we talked a little bit on the last episode. I know you tuned into that, but kind of my thoughts. And as a Sixers fan, dude, I was counting down the days, the hours, the minutes, the seconds until the Sixers were going to take the floor. Because I was like, all
hmm
right, we're going to come out here. We're healthy. We're one of the only teams in the bubble who's not missing anybody. We're one of the only teams in the bubble who is at full strength. And we come out there. I'm thinking we're going to give the Pacers like a 20 piece or something. I was that confident. I was like, this is going to
Yeah.
be the team we were supposed to be all year long. And through 3 games, so we have our fourth game tomorrow with the Magic, but through 3 games, we are 2-1. It just does not feel like we're 2-1. What's your
hmm
thoughts like coming into the games? Um, you know, coming into the bubble, what was your thought on the Sixers, and what's your thought on them right now?
Yeah, so I've been like, they have a really good roster, but it's just that how does everything fit in? And so you talked about last week how Ben Simmons was moving to the 4 spot, and so that Shake Milton took over the point guard. And so I feel that Ben Simmons is a great like point forward, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just Ben Simmons hasn't been known for shooting threes and this is definitely like a threes like they just shoot threes as much as they can throughout the NBA. And so how does Ben Simmons driving how is that affected with Embiid just being in the paint?
Mm-hmm.
Um And so that's just kind of my concerns because other than shooting, Ben Simmons is one of the top 10 maybe NBA players in the league right now. But
Absolutely.
if he was a lights out shooter, like nobody would be able to stop him on what he's been
Mm-hmm.
doing.
You're right. I mean, I think I mentioned maybe last episode or the one before that, he's elite in every single category
Hmm.
outside of shooting. He's an elite defender, elite passer, elite rebounder.
Yep.
He leads the league in steals. He's looking at possibly being on a first team all defensive or first team all NBA defense
Hmm.
this year for the first time in his career. Two-time All Star in just 3 years. He's still very young, just turned 24. But as we know, some disappointing news coming out of the Sixers' last matchup with the Wizards, where they squeaked by with a win, which is just so upsetting in and of itself. But Ben Simmons came back with a injury and came back as of today as a dislocated kneecap. Sounds painful. Estimated
Yeah.
to be out 4 to 6 weeks, I think, is like the average duration for that. Now, this is Ben Simmons,
Mm-hmm.
a freak athlete who's heading to the playoffs. I don't know, but in all likelihood, it's looking like he'll be out for the Sixers' first round. And
Hmm.
man, I don't know if we can get out of the first round without him.
Yeah, well, because right now, in the standings, they would actually be playing the Celtics, and so playing the
hmm
Celtics without Ben Simmons kind of
It's
stressful.
tough
Then,
because
yeah.
who's going to guard Tatum, and then if you get
Hmm.
someone to guard Tatum, who's going to guard Jaylen Brown? Like Ben can play
Yeah.
solid defense on those guys. There's really no one to do it now.
Hmm.
So we'll see. They said he's reviewing kind of treatment options for himself, and so I'm hopeful to get him back. Maybe I mean again that series would start in about 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And he's not going to be there for the opener of the series. It seems like that. Maybe they'll go down 2-0 and 3-0, and Ben will like, I'll give it a try. Maybe he'll come back out. I don't know. I'd love to see that,
Hmm.
but we'll see. That's a big blow to the Sixers in
Yeah.
every area outside of spacing, and something you already touched on. Something when Ben Simmons is off the floor that the Sixers are able to do is space the floor a lot better and,
Hmm.
and go around Joel Embiid a lot more. The Celtics don't particularly have someone that can guard Joel Embiid. Um, I mean, most teams don't, but he's been playing really well in the bubble. So is Tobias Harris as well.
Hmm.
But the Sixers team defense has been atrocious, and that's not going to get a lot better without Ben
Hmm.
Simmons. So in 2 of the 3 bubble games they've had, the Sixers have given up 240-plus fourth quarters, which is not a recipe for winning. And again, something you touched on with all of this talent that they have, why aren't we better? Is Brett Brown the answer? What's your take on Brett Brown and what the Sixers are doing wrong?
Yeah, I've been skeptical of Brett Brown for years now, and so I feel if we don't if they don't win this year or next year, like he should be gone. There's so many coaches right now that could do a lot better with that team with that talent than what he's been doing.
hmm Yeah, I like Brett Brown just as like the way he carries himself. He always has these interviews with like huge words and like sounds so smart and
Hmm.
but I don't know if he's the answer, and maybe they haven't helped him by who they've built around the 2 cornerstones in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I don't know, but there is a
Hmm.
lot of talent on this team, and you're exactly right. I think there's a lot of coaches out there with this talent who would be a lot further along than the 76ers currently are. So disappointing start for the Sixers, even though they are 2-1, losing Ben Simmons, some other notable injuries in the bubble so far. Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Grizzlies going down with a torn meniscus, and then Jonathan Isaac with a torn ACL.
Yeah,
Um,
that's yeah, that broke my heart.
yeah, it did. Jonathan Isaac, he's a good young player. They both are.
Hmm. Yeah, he's
Um,
really good defensively.
hmm But just to see
So,
even him in kind of the news lately, and then that to happen for him,
hmm.
the next game was a little, disappointing for them, disappointing for the Magic as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's transition to the Western Conference, and let's talk about what's going on in Los Angeles. So Lakers are struggling a bit. What's your take on that?
They miss Avery Bradley. With him going out, they don't have a guard that can play defense.
hmm
So like last night, yesterday they played the Thunder, and Chris Paul absolutely went off.
Yeah,
Um,
he did.
that Thunder team has been hot, but they shot horrendously yesterday. I think it was like 13% that they shot from three last night.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was really bad. Um, so they
Hmm.
just need to find LeBron needs to get into his playoff mode soon and just start taking over because they don't have the guards that they need in order to make it deep.
Hmm. That's an interesting take. You're right. I mean, we've talked about Avery Bradley a couple times on the show, and I mean, his defense is missed. Even what
Hmm.
he can do a little bit on the offensive end. Obviously, the Lakers brought in Waiters and Jr., but those are not guys that are the answer on defense.
No.
So yeah, the both LA teams are kind of struggling. They are combined, I think, 3-4.
Hmm.
Both teams are playing today. I think the Clippers are going right now. I don't know what the score is, but 3-4 since the restart, and the Lakers play the Rockets today, I believe, and I don't think LeBron's going in that one. I think he's got a groin injury.
Really?
So yeah, he's either doubtful or questionable or out. I forget which one,
Yeah, well,
but
they have the number one seed, so I wouldn't push it.
yeah. Yeah, but that's a team that's intriguing to me is the Rockets, just to see what they're able to do. So, what do you think? I asked Manny this question last week. I want to get your opinion. So, we know what the West is shaping up to be, kind of on the top half. We'll get into the bottom half here in just a second. But
Hmm.
are we absolutely a lock? Are we guaranteed to have a LA Western Conference Finals matchup? What's your take?
With the past few games of the Lakers, I feel like it is not a lock. The beginning of the season, we everybody was like, "Oh, it's LA in the finals, Western Conference Finals." But seeing them play recently, it's kind of concerning. And
Hmm.
so I know there's a ton of good guards that could smoke up the defense on the guards for LA. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention just like um, the Trailblazers have been doing real well these past few games, and so I know CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard. The Lakers don't have an answer for that defensively.
That's
And
true. That's
so,
true. I remember Charles Barkley said a couple weeks ago about if the Trailblazers get in, watch
hmm
out, Lakers. And
yep, that could
man, I mean,
provide
anything can happen.
some
Anything can happen.
spiciness
It's
to it.
2020.
Yep.
So, what's your take on the Rockets? What's your opinion there?
On the Rockets. Yeah, so everybody knows Russell Westbrook, James Harden, they're ball dominant guards. And so they've been amazing in the regular season for so long. And then it seems like when they get into the playoffs, they're just so tired and so worn out just from all those minutes, all those possessions that they have. But they had
Mm-hmm.
4 months off. And so, with those 4 months, that's like so much time to just rest. And so now going into the playoffs, they're at like the full capacity. They have full stamina. They're healthy. They're rested. And so with that, I feel like they can be dangerous. I know they don't have. They've been playing small ball. Um, but just think with the dominance of James Harden and Russell Westbrook in the playoffs, that they can actually get somewhere this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot here too. So, but even mentioning that team, it's gonna be intriguing to see whether or not LeBron's going
Hmm.
tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. How those guards of the Lakers can try or do whatever to maintain
Hmm.
those two ball dominant guards you're talking about with the Rockets. So, I'll put you on the spot of any team in the West. Who do you think has a chance? Not even necessarily to make it to the finals, but to break up a Western Conference battle for LA? Give me one team.
Hmm. Either the Rocket. I think it would either be the Rockets or the Nuggets.
Nuggets.
Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing really well
You on the
recently. He's
Bobo Michael Porter Jr. train.
Yep. They've been doing well, but like they're a little bit young, and so they have a few more years until they actually progress
Mm-hmm.
into the championship team. But it could be some interesting uh, playoff games, playoff series.
That definitely would be. That definitely
Hmm.
would be. Um, you think the Rockets have a better chance to take down the Clippers or the Lakers?
I feel like they have a better chance with the Lakers,
Okay.
just with the guards, because I think you put Paul George on James Harden,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Kawhi can just roam and get whoever, because um, the Rockets don't have as good of a big man, and so they could be with that
Yeah, I think too. I mean, even the defensive
matchups.
matchups alone. Yeah, exactly. The defensive matchups alone, the Clippers. I'm not saying they can stop James Harden. I'm not even saying they can slow him down, but they can
Hmm.
have someone on him that might be able to cause a couple issues.
Yeah.
Something going on in the bottom of the Western Conference is, man, really what I want to spend a few minutes on. So if you look
Hmm.
at the Western Conference standings, so we all know that there was a bunch of teams brought just to fight for the 8th seed. They were all brought to Orlando.
Yep.
The Grizzlies currently hold that 8th spot, but they are doing everything in their power to get rid of it, as they have lost all 4 of their bubble games so far, still hanging on by a thread. And
Hmm.
then you've got the Blazers, the Suns, Spurs, Kings, and Pelicans, who are all within a game and a half of each other for
Hmm.
that 9th spot. It is absolutely absurd. What's your take? Who are you watching? What are you feeling about the Western Conference fight?
Yeah, so I kind of thought that the Pelicans would make a push, but we've seen throughout these past few days that Zion's been on a minutes restriction, and so
Hmm.
um, without their best young talent on like playing a good amount of minutes, it's hard to win if you don't have him on the court. And so they did lose today to the Kings, and so I don't think either of those two will make it in. I don't think I think the Grizzlies will get bumped out of that spot.
Hmm.
And so I think my prediction is for the 8 seed, the Trailblazers move into that. And then I think the Suns move into the 9 seed so that they play
Oh
each
my.
other. The
There you
Suns have been
go.
pretty hot. They're 4-0 in the bubble. Devin Booker been lighting it up lately.
Yeah, that's very true. That would
Hmm.
be I mean, those are the two kind of hottest teams, I guess. I mean, obviously the
Yep.
Suns have yet to lose in the bubble, like you said. They're 4-0. The Trailblazers are right there, a game behind the Grizzlies.
Hmm.
It's gonna be wild. And then, so the 9 seed, if they're within 4 games, which it definitely appears they're gonna be, is gonna play the 8 seed and have to beat them twice in order to earn that 8th spot. So definitely entertaining days ahead for
Hmm.
that fight. I mean, it's wild to me how you look at a team like the Kings, who's not out of it, and they're 1-3 in the bubble, and they're
Yeah.
only a game and a half out of that 9th spot. It's like wild,
Hmm.
and I mean, you never know. A team like that could do something. They could win their last 4 games and somehow get in.
Yeah.
Um, but we shall see what happens there. I like, I think I like what you said. I would like to see the Suns get in. I'd like to see D Book, and they got their backup point guard, West Virginia's own Javon Carter. So I would love to
Hmm.
see him make the playoffs and get some minutes. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
But
They're
that's
a
gonna
young
be.
team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be interesting. I think, like you even mentioned too, I think out of any of those teams, any of those 6 teams, 5, 6 teams, like the best chance to do anything in the playoffs once they get there, not just get the 8th seed, is the Trailblazers. It's got to be.
Hmm. Yeah, they've been playing pretty well recently. They've been hurt in the past few months, but because of this hiatus, everyone's been getting healthy. I saw that Nurkic is back. Got Melo actually playing pretty well right now, and so I guess we'll have to see.
We will see indeed. So you brought an article to my attention earlier, kind of like an NBC Sports bubble power rankings after 1 week. So the
Hmm.
NBA tipped back off 1 week ago, and so NBC dropped this kind of article because again, this is 4 months. This is like longer or as long as a normal off season. So there's going to be some turmoil and change
Hmm.
as to who's playing well, who's not, who's in a slump. And so they released an article, and we'll kind of walk through just the top 12 of these power rankings. And I kind of would like your take on it. I'll give some input as well. But it goes Lakers at the top. We kind of know how you feel there. And then the Raptors at 2, surpassing the Bucks. The Raptors have been looking very, very good. And then Bucks 3, Clippers 4, Rockets 5, Thunder 6, Heat at 7, pretty high for them. They surpassed the Celtics at 8, the Pacers at 9, Nuggets 10, Blazers 11, and Sixers. This is, I believe, this article came out pre Ben Simmons injury at 12, and so you expect them to slide down a little bit. Thoughts? I mean, the Raptors are up there high. That's kind of not a surprise necessarily, but it's a change, and the Heat are up there.
I mean, I really like the Heat. Jimmy Butler has just brought fire to that team. They got a bunch of young guys that have been playing really well recently, and I don't think they'll get so far into the playoffs, but I like to see them progress and to see what they can do with that young roster.
Yeah, I think the Heat could. I'm scared of the Heat. I'm scared of anyone at this. If you've watched any Sixers game, I'm scared to play anybody.
Yeah.
Dude, it's bad. It's bad even before Ben Simmons, but I guess now we have something to blame it on when we don't do well in the playoffs. But the Raptors are good, and they're doing it without Kawhi. And even LeBron said after they beat them, because the Lakers have gotten beat bad twice. You mentioned the Thunder, but the Raptors beat them pretty well.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry went off that game.
You're right. So it's the guards.
Mm-hmm.
It's these guards that they cannot maintain, and if you can't maintain Kyle Lowry, you got issues. Because I think everybody knows how I feel about Kyle Lowry by now. But Raptors coming in at 2 without Kawhi, that's impressive. I mean, that's honestly coming into the season, no one thought they were going to do anything without Kawhi. You figured you'd make the playoffs in the East. You figured you'd have an okay season, but man, to actually be in contention for a title, what would be? You know what I want to see?
What?
I would love to see a Raptors
Clippers
finals, dude. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be pretty cool.
Honestly, if the Sixers can't make it, and it ain't going to, that's what I want to see. I think that's honestly what I want to see, because and then everybody's gonna root for the Raptors, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not like Kawhi did them dirty, or it's not like he, did anything bad. He came, he saw, he conquered, he got the title, and he got out. Kind of like we talked about with Carla on episode 10. Being a Toronto native, but so she has no hate toward him, and I don't think a lot of Toronto people do. But man, to see kind of an underdog sense, Kawhi leaves to go build a super team, and yet the Raptors would be able to take him out. That would be just a great way to cap off 2020, I feel like.
The Raptors do have a good lineup. They have a good roster and a good coach, and they play good team ball. It's just they're missing that one superstar, what they had with Kawhi last year. So yeah.
Yep. So we'll see if that actually comes up to get them, or if they can keep doing it without that one stud. Any other takeaways on your end other than what we've talked about already, just from 1 week of games? I mean, how do you feel just in general about the NBA being back? How's it feel?
Yeah, I kind of see that the the Celtics being down in 8. I'm kind of questioning. I'm not a big Celtics fan, but they do have 3 guys that average 20 points a game, and so I was wondering, they might be they might be in contention to winning the Eastern Conference as well.
Yeah, they could be, as much as I hate to say it. So they got who are the 3 guys over 20? Kemba, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they've got Hayward's actually playing pretty solid this year.
Yeah, that's good.
Marcus Smart, as much as I think he's overrated, he's a very good defensive guard. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
It's just that they don't have the big guy that they need. They just need to put Taco Fall in 48 minutes a game.
Like you do on 2K, probably.
No, not really. I don't really play. I just play my player.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about.
Okay.
We'll have to talk 2K sometime.
Yeah, we will. We'll have you on again. We'll talk some 2K. Last thing before you go, since we were going to leave kind of the finals predictions and things for when playoffs are actually here, but you might not be on the show between now and then. And so I need your finals prediction. Who's beating who and how many games?
Ooh. All right.
Put you on the spot. I just thought of it.
Yeah. As of now, I mean, the Lakers haven't been playing the way that they need to.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron's getting up there in age. So I think Kawhi gets Giannis again, shuts him down in the finals this time instead of the Eastern Conference Finals. I say that the
Mm-hmm.
Clippers would beat the Bucks in six.
Okay. All right. So that's the first prediction from the Baseline Facetime podcast on what the finals are going to shape out to be. So Dave Frett coming in with the Raptors. Sorry. The Clippers over the Bucks in 6. Kawhi gets another ring. Where do you think that would put him all time?
I think Colin Cowherd said that if he does that, it'd be the third finals, with the third finals with three different teams and like MVP. And so he said that
Mm-hmm.
would put him like top five.
Yeah,
And
that's the
so,
reason I asked because as
yeah,
of what Colin said. Whew, and he's not even.
I
He's
don't know though because, um, like he's such an impactful player. It's just uh, like load management, that what they say. And so,
mm-hmm,
he takes a good amount of time off, but when it comes
that's
around
true.
to the playoffs, he gets it done. So
That would be.
maybe top five all time in the playoffs. So we could say that.
That's for sure.
Just like
If you got another
just
finals
like
with another
MJ.
team,
Yeah.
another MVP, I mean, he's climbing those rankings.
Hmm.
That is for sure. Well, I think that's a wrap for today's episode of the Baseline Facetime podcast. As
Hmm.
always, you can find us on Instagram at Baseline Facetime Podcast. You can email us if you have questions, things you want to talk about. Hey, maybe you want to be like Dave and come on the show sometime. That would be great. And so you can email us at baselinefacetime.podcast at gmail.com. Dave, any last words?
Just keep watching, keep playing 2K. Watch the 100.
Oh,
Over
yeah?
a little bit of overtime. Um,
Oh, overtime segment. I see you with the call out. Let's go.
the 100. It's on its last season. I just watched one of the episodes earlier. I'm so hooked onto it. I've been watching it for the past like 3 years. But it's been going on for like 7 years. So it's the seventh and final season. So we're getting down to the end of things. It's so good. It's so much action, so much just like full circle effects. Just to see like what's happening. So it's a sci-fi drama action, kind of young adult type of show. And so if you
Yeah.
guys are looking for something to watch on Netflix, I definitely recommend to watch it.
Hey, I'll tune in. I'll tune in just because you brought it to the Baseline FaceTime attention. I
All right.
will tune in to the 100. Man, thanks for joining. You're an official baseliner now.
Yes,
I know you know
sir.
that. And we'll definitely have you on again sometime. But stay safe out there and
Hmm.
go Sixers, bro.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Baseline FaceTime podcast. We'll see you next time.